Hello guys, welcome to my channel. So today I am going to show you a brief introduction on GraphQL and why I think that GraphQL is the future. So before we go ahead, we have to first understand what REST API is and what were the drawbacks. So I know most of you may have already worked on REST API, but for those who haven't, we have the data in JSON format in this example, and we separate each item using comma. So as you can see, we have two items here. First is this one till here, second is this one. So we have two items here, and inside each item we have a parts list, and inside parts, as you can see in this one, we have two different parts. In this one we have only one. So request will be like this: get items. This request will get both of them, which will be your first one and your second one. In this request, what you are trying to do is you are trying to get the item with an ID name. So let's say I want to find out item / sdog, then it will fetch me this item only. In this request, I am trying to display all the parts, which will be these three. In this request, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the parts with an ID name. So let's say I want to print parts /3, so it will print me this one. Okay, so I have taken two URI here. So these are the two requests which are being passed on through my browser to display the data from this JSON file. So what I'm trying to do here is I am navigating to all the items list, and then I'm trying to find out an item with name GCATG, okay, which is this one. In this one, what I'm trying to do is I am trying to navigate on all the parts, and then I'm trying to find out only that part which is inside this item, which is GSet. So these two will be displayed because these are the only parts inside this item. So let's see. So in the first request, in our item list with name GSet, we got the data, and for parts with item GSet, we got fur and teeth. Here you can see these are fur and teeth. Super dog, oh sorry, tail was not displayed. Okay, so this was the REST. So what were the problems in REST API? So first problem was that there were a lot of endpoints. So for those who don't know what endpoints are, see this example. In this you can see that there is a database, and in this database, to get the data, I'm trying to do a certain types of request, get and post here. So there are 4 requests here of 2 different HTTP types. So these are the endpoints here for our application. But what's wrong with it? What is wrong with what is wrong with a lot of endpoints here? So to explain this, first of all, I can tell you this is that each resource in REST is represented by endpoints. Okay, if we have a consumer based application, we will end up in making a lot of endpoints. For different type of requests, we have to create a lot more requests, which will furthermore end up in making a lot of endpoints. Now for different type of HTTP requests, we have to make different endpoints. Let's take an example of get and post here. So here you can see that for a certain type of request, I am making 2 endpoints, right? So this is actually increasing the endpoints number. So why is this a problem? So this is a problem because if you consider an application like Facebook, okay, what we are doing is we are building an application just like Facebook, okay, where we have to do a lot of modifications. Let's suppose for future improvements or maybe new features, what will happen? So developers will be using most of their time in developing and maintaining these APIs, which is not good. Okay, developers should only create new ones without wondering about the old ones. So Second problem with REST API was that there were fixed structure and there was overfetching. What do I mean by fixed structure is that we have to provide the API that what kind of data I'm getting or giving. So like in the previous example, I showed you the example of JSON. Okay, now what do I say about overfetching? Why do I think this is an issue? So let's see this example. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to get first name, last name and age of an user. Here you can see. Okay, but we cannot directly fetch them. Why? Because we have to fetch the entire object, like which is having post, comments, created at, and then later on we are getting these three details. So which is an overburden. Why? Because we are getting more than what we actually need. This is what I call as overfetching, which is not efficient at all. Now the third problem is that we had to do versioning. Okay, so in our software development lifecycle, whenever we evolve our application, we are always focused on keeping versions. Okay, same thing happened with REST. Why? Because we didn't want to alter the existing functionality, or maybe it was too difficult to modify the existing APIs, either because they are larger numbers or maybe there was no documentation. So as you can see in this example, there is a version 1 of users and then there is a version 2 of user. Let's say there was a Spring Boot or you can say REST API version upgrade. So the developer planned to modify the code in an efficient way. So they will not try to alter the modification because they don't have the documentation. So they will try to keep away from it and they will create a new API and they will refer to that API with version 2 or the furthermore version. So as you can see that we are creating more API calls. Okay, so these were the three actual drawbacks which I saw in REST API, and these were the reasons why which developers were more focused on having documentation, creating versions, having an overburden of overfetching, and yes, there were a lot of endpoints. So why GraphQL? What does it provide us? So let's see. So here in this example, as you can see that between our request and database, we have a single endpoint. So this is the entity which will be provided to us by GraphQL. So we don't have a need of lot of endpoints here. Okay, so with GraphQL we only get one endpoint and we can get as much data as we want in a single request. It improves our development cycle, as you don't have to make two requests to get data from two different sources. So previously in REST API we were having two different HTTP requests for post. So in this GraphQL we don't have to do that. So this way we can make as many requests as we want. The second benefit that I found is that you need the data, then you will get that data only. You will not have an overhead of overfetching. As you can see here, here I wanted to get first name, last name and age of an user, and it fetched me those details only. I didn't get address or mobile number, which is good. Now let's see the format or syntax of GraphQL. So GraphQL basically stands for Graph Query Language. So it doesn't exactly work on JSON format. It is based on query language. So here you can see that there are two ways here. The first way is your body header, like through which, like let's say you are using Postman, so you can provide the header as this, or you can, if you are using API call maybe through Spring Boot, so you can have a method having this URI. So these are the two ways that you can work with. So what I'm trying to do here is I am trying to fetch an item with ID gset and these are the information that I need. So let's say if I only wanted ID, then I would not write these much. I will just write ID. So let's see how this URI or this Postman API will work. So the result will be like this. It will print us data, item, ID, gset, and later on all the details that I requested. Here you can see that I wanted an item with ID, gset. So till here you can see gset. Then I have ID, I have name here, I have description, I have parts, and inside parts I want to have ID and name, which is being printed here. So as you can see, this is an efficient approach over REST API. So that's why I'm assuming that in the near future we will see more GraphQL and less REST API. So that was all from my side. Please let me know if you have any questions on it. I'm always available, and please subscribe, like, and share my video. Thank you guys.